Hello, YouTubers and NFL fans everywhere. This is Matt, the NFL Fanatic, giving you my Week 3 2019 NFL predictions. Well, last week for the Fanatic was one of the best weeks I have had ever in terms of both just straight up and against the spread together. Arguably, it was my best against the spread week ever so far. So last week against the spread, I have gone 11-4 from the time when I put those lines out, which equals 73% on the lines, and I actually equaled that with my straight up record, which also went 11-4. So to go 22-8 respectively on the betting lines and straight up, that is a fantastic week for me. Probably one of the best ones, if not the best week I've had together over the last few years with these picks together. And now, for the year overall, for the first time in a long time, I have a very nice cushion for my above average against the spread record. I am 19-11-1 against the spread, which equals about 63%, 62.9 to be exact. And straight up, I am now 21-9-1 straight up, which equals about 69.3%. Tonight, just everybody out there for a reminder, I am taking the Cleveland Browns minus 2.5. Over the New York Jets in New York in that way. So I am very excited with how this year started out. I really couldn't ask for a much better start, and I'm hoping to continue to build on this great 2-week start for a great third week of the last full 16-game slate before the buys start kicking in. And we're going to have between 13 to 15 games after this week all the way up to Thanksgiving. But what a crazy week in the NFL with everything going on. You have two Hall of Fame quarterbacks in Drew Brees and Ben Roethlisberger going down with significant injuries. Drew Brees, who's only missed, I believe, 4 games in the last 13 years with the Saints, or maybe in his entire career, has a fractured ligament in his thumb, and he's going to be out for a minimum, or for at least 6 weeks. It could be longer, but 6 weeks. And I am very, stunned by that. It was a weird injury, even though I guess it is kind of expected when his thumb went off Aaron Donald's helmet. It looked bad, and he said he really couldn't grip the ball. And this is going to be like the first significant time in the Sean Payton, Drew Brees era that the Saints do not have him for an extended period of time. And that means that Teddy Bridgewater and Taysom Hill are now the quarterbacks unless they get somebody. I do want to congratulate the Rams for winning that game 27-9. They had a solid all-around game, but I think, to be fair, everybody said as soon as Drew went down, there was really no point, in my opinion, to see them have to, to really see how that game was going to be in doubt. I thought Todd Gurley had a very solid, good game. He had a couple big touchdowns, and he looked solid. But it's a tough blow for the Saints. Also, I do feel bad for their fans. They got hosed on another call when Jared Goff clearly fumbled the football. They ruled it a fumble, but they called it back, or they blew the play dead, and basically cost the Saints a big touchdown. At the end of the day, it didn't matter in the grand scheme of things because of Brees' injury, but that was just another bad call by the Saints. And, of course, Big Ben Roethlisberger going down with a non-contact elbow injury. He went out of the first half against the Seahawks, never came back in. Mason Rudolph, I didn't think did bad. He went about 12 of 18, about 150, 160 yards, 2 TDs, and a pick. I thought he did a good job, and I think Mason, he's been in that system for a couple years. I think he'd be effective. But for the Steelers, this, all this hope of where just a few years ago you had Big Ben, Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, Martavius Bryant, Juju Smith-Schuster, and all these great offensive talents, and James Conner also went down with knee injury. You're just going to have Juju Smith-Schuster and really nothing else because Dante Moncrief's not doing well. Deontay Johnson, he's okay. You have Vance McDonald, and who's not a bad tight end, but you really don't have anything. Jalen Samuels, Benny Snell. I don't know how effective they're going to be on the ground together with Ben's injury, but we'll see. But definitely for the Steelers, this is the end. This is the end of their season. They're not making the playoffs. But for Mike Tomlin, this might be just the first time in his career that he will have a losing record after all these injuries have occurred. I think he should be fired, personally. I wouldn't have given him that I think he should be fired because the Steelers have been on this downward trajectory ever since that divisional loss against Jacksonville 3 years ago. They've just gone down. They're going to go further down. And honestly, with Ben, I don't know if he's going to retire or come back. Who knows? But they're not going to fire Tomlin because they have a 1-year extension. And I know people are going to say, why do you want to fire Mike Tomlin? I'm just saying that, this Steelers nonsense has been with him for a few years. And it's just like where his defense is giving up a lot of points. And that's where his side of the ball, his specialty side of the ball is. I don't have confidence in Mike Tomlin to be effective in these situations at this point. And you have to start improving somewhere. The last time he went to the Super Bowl was 2010. He had a little stretch between 12 and 13 where he went 500 and missed the playoffs back-to-back years. He went on a stretch from 14 to 17 where he improved his team every single year, or 14 through 16 where he got the teams into the playoffs and into the AFC Championship game. They got blown up by New England. They took a step back 2 years ago, losing to Jacksonville. They took another step back last year, not making the playoffs but going 9-6-1. And now they're probably going to have their first losing record under Mike Tomlin. And I just feel like it's time for Mike Tomlin to go. He's not going to because of Pittsburgh standards, and they've only had 3 coaches since 1960. But that's what I would do. And I'll talk about all the other games during my picks. All right, so time for my picks for this week. All right, so this Thursday, and again, anybody with the lines out there, I get these lines on OddsSharks /NFL. I will put the link to OddsSharks in my description. So if anybody wants to see how the lines are moving from this point, you can, and you also can make your own betting picks that way. All right, it's time for my picks for each game. So this Thursday, when the 1-1 Tennessee Titans go to the 0-2 Jacksonville Jaguars, the Tennessee Titans are 1.5-point favorites in this game. I like Tennessee here, -1.5, and Tennessee straight up. Then the next game, when the 0-2 Cincinnati Bengals go to the surprising 2-0 Buffalo Bills at New Era Field Stadium. The Buffalo Bills are 6-point favorites in this game. I like Buffalo here to win straight up, but I'm going to take Cincinnati here +6. So the next game, when the 0-2 Miami Dolphins go to the 2-0 Dallas Cowboys, ladies and gentlemen, this is not a joke. The Dallas Cowboys are 21-point favorites on the line. This is not a college football game. This is not Alabama taking on New Mexico State or Clemson taking on Charlotte or any great school taking on, a measly, Arkansas State like Georgia, whatever. This is an actual NFL game where equal pros. The Dallas Cowboys are 21-point favorites in this game. I took New England -18.5 and they won by 43. So I have to go with the line here. I'm going to take Dallas here -21 and Dallas straight up. This is an insane line, one of the most insane lines I've seen in an NFL game. But after what I've seen Miami play the last 2 weeks, I have to go with whatever they had. They could have put it up at 30, and I might have taken that. I still probably would have taken Dallas -30 points. So I like Dallas, obviously -21, and Dallas straight up. The next game, the 0-2 Denver Broncos go to the 2-0 Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers are 8-point favorites in this game. I like Denver here +8, but I'll take Green Bay straight up. And then the next game, when the 1-1 Atlanta Falcons go to the 1-1 Indianapolis Colts at Lucas Oil Stadium, the Indianapolis Colts are 2.5-point favorites in this game. I am going to take Atlanta here for an upset. I like Atlanta here +2.5, and Atlanta straight up. Then the next game, when the 2-0 Baltimore Ravens go to Arrowhead Stadium to take on the 2-0 Kansas City Chiefs, the Kansas City Chiefs are 6.5-point favorites in this game. I like Kansas City here -6.5, and Kansas City straight up. Then the next game, when the 1-1 Oakland Raiders go to the 1-1 Minnesota Vikings, the Minnesota Vikings are 8-point favorites in this game. I like Minnesota here -8, and Minnesota straight up. Then the next game, when the 0-2 or 1-1 New York Jets go to the 2-0 New England Patriots, the New England Patriots are 17.5-point favorites in this game. I like the New England Patriots here -17.5. And New England straight up. If they can cover an 18-point spread against Miami, I feel like they can duplicate the same thing against New York Jets. Same way with a half a point taken off the difference. So I like New England here -17.5 and New England straight up. And then the next game, when the 1-0-1 Detroit Lions go to the 1-1 Philadelphia Eagles, the Philadelphia Eagles are 7-point favorites in this game. I like Detroit here +7, but I'll take Philadelphia straight up. Then the next game, when the 0-2 Carolina Panthers go to the 0-1 Arizona Cardinals, the Carolina Panthers are 2.5-point favorites in this game. I'm going with the upset here. I like Arizona plus 2.5, and Arizona straight up. And then the next game, when the 0-2 New York Giants go to the 1-1 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 6.5-point favorites in this game. I like the Giants here plus 6.5, but I will take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers straight up. Then the next game, when the 0-2 Pittsburgh Steelers go to the 2-0 San Francisco 49ers, this game right now is a pick-em on the line, and I'm going to save with this bet right now. It's a pick-em on the line, so I'm going to take San Francisco here against the spread, and straight up, though, I am very fortunate that I'm doing my video today because the line's going to move up, obviously, by a good amount with Ben Roethlisberger's injury happening. The next game, same thing, very similar situation. The 1-1 New Orleans Saints go to the 2-0 Seattle Seahawks. This game is also a pick-em right now, and with the news about Drew Brees' injury, obviously I'm going to take Seattle against the spread and straight up with a pick-em that way. So, yep, I like Seattle against the spread and straight up. Then the Sunday night game, when the 2-0 Los Angeles Rams go to the 0-2 or 1-1 Cleveland Browns. The LA Rams are 3-point favorites in this game. I like the LA Rams here -3 and the LA Rams straight up. And then the Monday night game for this next week, when the 1-1 Chicago Bears go to the 0-2 Washington Redskins, the Bears are 4-point favorites in this game. I like Chicago here to win straight up, but I will take Washington +4. All right, so time for my thoughts on each game. The Titans at the Jaguars. See, this is one where it's real interesting looking at how this game is shaping up. The Titans are coming off a debilitating divisional loss against the Indianapolis Colts. They were very fortunate to have Adam Vinatieri miss 2 extra points and I believe a field goal in the game. But, Mariota really didn't make that many big throws. He really didn't put up that many yards. Derrick Henry had a solid game. He had about 80 yards rushing and a touchdown. And I was surprised that they couldn't, keep that going. They also got a big interception on Brissett, which they really couldn't, have an effect on. Cairo Santos missed a 45-yard field goal. And, I thought the Titans, they did what they always do over the last couple years. Every time you don't bet on them, they'll outplay your expectations and win games they shouldn't. And every time you do bet on them, they will always come up a little bit short, mostly in the result, mostly in the W and L column. And honestly, though, I have to give you, Jacksonville, they had a really great defensive showing. They didn't have Yannick Ngakoue. They didn't have A.J. Boye. They didn't have another one of their defenders, but it was a very close game, and that game was basically 6-3 for the most part. Gardner Minshew looked okay. He fumbled a few times. I think that's an issue I saw with him. That Jag offensive line. It didn't have Cam Robinson, but it was a tough game. But Jacksonville and Tennessee last year in Jacksonville, they won a game 9-6. Tennessee did 9-6, and I could see somewhat a very similar game here happening. I remember last year, I believe in Tennessee, they had that 99-yard touchdown run. So obviously the Jags are going to be motivated to not let that happen again on a Thursday night football game. But I'm taking the Titans here just because this is one of those things where these two teams know each other. It could be a close game, but I just feel like, again, Gardner Minshew will not be able to make as many throws. He won't be able to make as many plays on this Titans defense as I believe Mariota will against the Jags defense, especially with their running game with Derrick Henry, who's had a couple solid games. And Jacksonville just over the years, they only won one division game last year against Indy at home. And I just have confidence in that. If this line was about 2 to 5, or if this line was 4 more points, I probably would have taken the Jacksonville against the line, but it's only 1.5. So I feel like the Titans, they should be able to win a game-winning field goal or get a game-winning touchdown, in this kind of game. And I just don't have faith in Minshew. And also, I don't have faith in Doug Marrone, who stupidly decided to go, hey, we scored, we had, Gardner Minshew throw a 4-yard touchdown to DJ Chark to get within 1 point of the game. What are we going to do? Let's go for the win. And, even though they're the road team, and the old adage is, and on the road, you go for the tie. At home, you go for the win. And, Doug Marrone obviously didn't know that, and that idiot decided to run it right at the gut of Leonard Fournette, running into J.J. Watt and Whitney Merciless, and it failed miserably. And I just loved how the Jag players were all celebrating. It's like, no, you didn't get in, and you cost yourself a game that you shouldn't even, been in. So, with that in mind, I'm going to take that confidence. Doug Marrone's going to screw up a little bit more. The Titans are going to be a little motivated to play more effectively. I feel like, again, the Titans have more talent to play around, and they've been a little more consistent, and I'll take Mariota making a couple more plays or a couple less mistakes than Gardner Minshew will in this game. It's going to be a low-scoring game. These Titans-Jaguars Thursday night games are always not the most prettiest or sexiest to watch in the week. But if you like hard-nosed, old-school football, this is a game for that. And honestly, this is a huge game because if Jacksonville loses this game, they're basically out of the division. I feel like with an 0-3 start and 2 losses to back-to-back two division opponents. So that's why I like Tennessee or -1.5 and Tennessee straight up. The next game, the Bills over the Bengals. Buffalo, I have to, give the Bills credit. They are playing solid football. I know people are going to say, well, they only had to go to New Jersey and play both New York teams. And by the way, Josh Allen with a great quote of saying, well, he does play for the one New York team because remember the Jets and Giants play in New Jersey. But yeah, I look at how the Bills have been playing, and they've been playing fundamentally solid football. They've held 30 points in their 2 games. That's 15 points per game defensively. That defensive unit is stacked. Eli Manning really couldn't throw the ball that effectively. He threw a horrible interception at horrible interception at a few points. Frank Gore had 18 carries for 69 yards and another touchdown. Devin Singletary looked effective. And Josh Allen, the one amazing thing about Josh Allen that people, seem to kind of amaze me over the last couple weeks is that guy is a better athlete than I gave him credit for. Because on that one rushing touchdown, you had Frank Gore, one of the top 5 runners of all time, having a leading block for Josh Allen. And I think that's kind of been the difference with his legs for the Bills to make plays. I think, his throwing's been up and down. He's had a couple turnovers himself. But, that Bills defense is able to stop, been able to stop their opponents pretty well. And they've been able to, withstand those turnovers and play effective football. So I've been impressed with how Buffalo's played. Like, they're a team that's very much, I kind of feel like the Titans in that way. Like, they're a team that, like, you don't really look on paper and go, wow, you should be you should be able to win most of these games. But the Bills surprise you every week and play fundamental, consistent football. They know their identity. They know what Josh Allen can do well. And they're able to get wins. And, the reason why I'm taking them against Cincinnati is after that phenomenal performance in Week 1 where Andy Dalton was leading the league in passing yards and they almost beat the Seahawks, they host the Niners and just let Jimmy Garoppolo go up and down the field with Marquise Goodwin, Matt Breida, George Kittle. And that Niner offense was just fantastic. The Niners defense shut down Andy Dalton in that offense. Let me pull up a number here. It was just a flat out route by the Niners to the Bengals, and that's why I lost a lot of confidence in the Bengals. Because honestly, I might have taken the Bengals. This week against Buffalo if they were able to pull it out, or if they were able to have a competitive game. But obviously, after watching that performance, they gave up. They had 1 turnover, and they gave up 316 total yards and 25 rush yards. They gave up 25 rush yards to Joe Mixon and Gio Bernard, which I think is incredibly impressive. But that's why I got to go with Buffalo. Buffalo, I believe they're going for their first 3-0 start since 2011. And I remember that was when Fitzpatrick beat Brady. And I just think, again, Buffalo is a more fundamental, consistent team. I think, AJ Green's still out. I don't know if he'll play. But if he's out, I think, again, you can put Tre'Davious White on John Ross. The safety, Micah Hyde, can be effective against Tyler Eifert. And I just think, again, the Bills with John Brown, Robert Foster, Frank Gore, Singletary, O'Leary, Tyler Kroft. I think they can be able to make some plays on this Bengals defense, especially with Josh Allen's mobility, in order for them to win this game. But I'm taking the Bengals here +6 because I just don't know if the Bengals. I had 2 mixing things, and I feel like Buffalo's a team that's going to let them hang around, and I feel like, it's going to be close, but I got to take Buffalo here. They're going for their first 3-0 start. They've been fundamentally more consistent, and I will take the consistency, especially of a home team like the Bills, going up into near Niagara to win this game in a very interesting game where the Bills can go for their first 3-0 start, I believe, since 2011. So that's why I like Buffalo here straight up, but I'll take Cincinnati +6. The next game, Dallas over the Dolphins. This was the easiest pick of the week. Honestly, Miami, they've given up 102 points in 2 games. That's 51 points per game. That is the second most points ever given up, I believe, in NFL history in the Super Bowl era. And they have the third worst point differential ever in Super Bowl history. They really couldn't move the ball at all. At one point, I think midway through the third quarter, the Dolphins had gained a grand total of 38 yards of offense. It was sad. I felt, like the Dolphins have just quit. I'm sorry to say, the Dolphins have just quit on for the season. I am going to go basically for the rest of the year. Little spoiler. I'm going to go the 16-0 and 0-16 route with the Cowboys and with the Dolphins and Patriots respectively. I'll take the Patriots every week and I'll see if they lose, and I'll go against the Dolphins every week and see how many times I can get to 0-16. If you look at the Dolphins, a lot of their players want to get traded out. You have Josh Rosen there who doesn't really look that thrilled. And I think honestly, as much as I, was not a big fan of Rosen, I do feel bad for him because he's not getting a fair opportunity with a team that is just not really good. I feel like for the Cowboys, this is going to be, they're trying to get to their first 3-0 start since, I believe, 2007? I believe 2007 would be the last time they started out 3-0. Let me see here. Give me 1 second, guys. Everybody, let's see, 2008. No, I'm sorry, 2008. There we go. The Cowboys are trying to go for their first 3-0 start since 2008. And I feel like they have the perfect opponent to do this with. Dak Prescott's looked sensational. He's completed he has the second or third highest completion percentage in the NFL so far. 7 TDs, no picks, about 690 yards of offense through the air. He had some great touchdown throws to Devin Smith, to Amari Cooper. Ezekiel Elliott had 111 yards rushing. I do think with the Cowboys' defense, they've been able to give up some plays, which I'm not impressed with. But obviously with Miami, I don't think they have to really worry about scoring as much. Remember, Miami scored a grand total of 10 points through 2 games. And honestly, this is the lock of the week, honestly, just because I from what I've seen out of Miami, they don't care anymore. And I feel like for Dallas, New England didn't even look like they were trying to blow them out, but they ended up doing it anyway. I feel like with Dallas, they'll do the same thing. I feel like Dallas just, they'll fundamentally wear them down. I don't think they're getting Robert Quinn back this week, who's finishing his 2-game suspension. I think they'll be able to make some big throws with their wide area receivers. Jason Witten, congrats to him. 2 touchdowns in back-to-back games since he's come back from retirement. And I just think the Cowboys are going to absolutely destroy the Dolphins and make the Dolphins, I believe, go maybe into the worst team of all time discussion with how little effort they've been playing over the last couple weeks. So that's why I like Dallas here, -21, and Dallas straight up. I know it's nuts. This looks like a college score, but honestly, if New England could do 18.5, I'll take Dallas at 21. All right, the next game, the Packers over the Broncos. This is one where I looked at the Broncos, and that defense did a fantastic job on Mitchell Trubisky. Some of that could be on Mitchell Trubisky's effort because he really couldn't throw the ball that effectively. They couldn't really make a lot of plays. And Joe Flacco in that offense, I know everybody's going to talk about in that Denver game, the Bradley Chubb roughing the passer call. That was a BS call. What are you supposed to do? What is Chubb supposed to do? He didn't even lay on him. He just tackled him to the ground with the ball. That's a sack. I thought the last time that was legal. But to give up that 20-plus yard completion to Trubisky, to give Pinero a 53-yard field goal. The Broncos were the first team since 1994 to complete a 2-point conversion for a lead within the final minute and then still not win the game. The last time that was actually able to get successfully done was, ironically, with Denver in 2008 against the Chargers, I believe, Week 3, with the famous Ed Hockley game that was close, but the Broncos won it anyway. And from what I saw out of the Packers, it was a dominating first half. They got 3 turnovers on Kirk Cousins, who went 16 of, I believe, 30, 233 yards, a TD, 3 turnovers. And Rodgers in the offense through the first half looked absolutely unstoppable. By the second half, like Mike Zimmer's defense, they would be more effective. Aaron Jones, I believe, had 16 carries for 113 yards and a touchdown. And it was just a real fundamentally solid game by that offense. And the defense showed up once again, getting 3 turnovers and limiting Kirk Cousins offensively very well. Kyle Rudolph and Irv Smith really didn't do that much. Stephon Diggs really only had 1 big play offensively. Dalvin Cook was really the one that burned him on the ground that helped him with some yards. But I'm taking Green Bay here just because I just trust Rodgers and that team a little bit better. Like, the Packers defense has played way better and given them a chance to win. And with the Denver defense, they'll put up some fights, but if you're telling me I get Flacco or Rodgers, I'll take Aaron Rodgers with his offensive talent and weapons versus Joe Flacco, Phillip Lindsay, Sutton, Sanders, Patrick, Hireman, and all those offensive weapons that could not really do anything against the quality defense. Do I think the Bears' defense is better than Green Bay's? Yes. But I think Green Bay's defense has shown you over the last 2 weeks, giving up 19 points in 2 weeks, that they are an improved defense, and I will just trust the better quarterback in Aaron going up against Denver's defense, which hasn't looked always that great. Remember, they didn't get any sacks on Derek Carr Week 1. They got some pressure on Trubisky, which is really impressive. But I think Aaron can move around from it, and he'll be able to make some bigger-time throws to the Packers' offensive weapons compared to Trubisky. That'll not make this game as close. But with Denver's defense, with how Rodgers looked that second half, of how the Vikings' defense was able to kind of limit his ability to make plays, I'll take Denver here +8. It was really the 8 for me that was kind of the difference. If it was under 7, I would probably take Green Bay, but being, a touchdown and 2-point conversion, I think that's too many points. I'll trust Denver could keep it within 8 points, especially with both defenses, how they're playing. So that's why I like Denver here, +8, but Green Bay straight up. The next game, the Falcons over the Colts. This was really hard. Because I watched that Sunday night game last night, and I saw an Atlanta team that got very fortunate that Carson Wentz, first of all, got bullied around and got whacked and beaten up by the Falcons' defensive line. Job well done to him. He threw 2 horrible interceptions, Wentz did, to Desmond Trufant, who had no picks last year, amazingly enough. But the Falcons were just able to fundamentally win the game. I felt like Matt Ryan was just throwing to Ridley and Jones whenever he could. And that block by Jake Matthews on Crayvon LeBlanc, R.I.P. to Avonte Maddox. Rest in peace to Avonte Maddox's credibility as a corner, because that was just a nasty block, which got Julio on that jailbreak screen to the end zone. But the reason why I was having problems with this was that Matt Ryan threw 3 interceptions. And 2 of them were really bad. The one was to Gary, the other, I forget where the other 2 were, but the other 2 weren't that good either. But basically, Matt Ryan was keeping them in a game that they shouldn't have really been that close to, of how Atlanta was playing the entire night. But with that being said, Atlanta was able to win the game, and I just look at Indy where, I'm going to do this one more time. I'm going to trust the talent of Atlanta. I know I did this week 1 and I got burned, and I would not be surprised at all if Indy won this game, because I feel like Indy's done a fantastic job over the last 2 weeks. So I do think Adam Vinatieri will either get cut or retire before this year's over, for how ineffective his kicking's been. But I just had to take Atlanta because I just think they're a little more talented, and I feel like that kind of play that happened against Philadelphia is more likely to happen against Indy, just in the same way what happened with the Chargers. And I just trust Atlanta's confidence right now, and Jacoby got fortunate, and I feel like, again, I'll trust Matt Bryant with his leg, a 43-year-old or 44-year-old Matt Bryant compared to a 46-year-old Adam Vinatieri, if the game gets that close. I think it's going to be a great game. I think Indy is really showing you that they're not going anywhere, and they're going to be a threat for the entire AFC conference. I feel like they played competitive, consistent football. Jacoby Brissett's looked good. He had 3 TDs in the pick yesterday. They've also now gone 12-2 in their last 14 games against the Titans. And Jacoby got his first win. But I'm going to take Atlanta here just based off talent, based off what I saw. And I don't think that Indy, something will happen where Matt Bryant will be the game-winning difference instead of Vinatieri missing the game-winning kick or getting the opportunity to miss it compared to win it. So that's why I like Atlanta here plus 2.5, but also Atlanta straight up. The next game, Kansas City over the Ravens. This was really, the one thing I want to tell every Ravens fan is, look, let's give Lamar Jackson his credit. He has improved leaps and bounds from where you saw him as a quarterback last year to end the year, a primarily running quarterback that could not throw the ball. He actually has he's one of the top 5 in completion percentages. He did something in the NFL that's never been happened for in the history of the 100 years. He had 250 yards throwing the ball and over 120 yards on the ground. So he had about 370 yards of offense just by his arm and his legs. And he was throwing a lot of great balls to Mark Andrews, Hollywood Brown, Mark Ingram got in the catch, and the Ravens just look fundamentally consistently good. The problem is, and this is why I'm taking Kansas City, is that we gave up 390 yards to Kyler Murray and his arm. And some of those throws were just blown coverages or just bad opportunities to make plays. And the difference is, and this is what I'll tell every Ravens fan, Kyler Murray may have been able to get massive chunk plays, but they didn't get in the end zone. If you saw Patrick Mahomes in the second quarter, think about this, the Chiefs did not score in 3 of the 4 quarters in the game. They were able to put up 28 points in 1 quarter. He has the most road games all time of 4 TDs and no interceptions, or most active, with 7 consecutive road games with 3 or more TDs, and I believe he's had 4 games on the road of 4 or more TDs with no picks, just in 19 games. He also broke another record, I believe I heard, in 19 games that no quarterback has been able to do before. But that's my problem with this whole thing for everybody, is that for every Ravens fan out there, and this is me coming from one, is that, yeah, we got very fortunate that Kyler Murray, didn't get those bombs in the end zone. When Patrick Mahomes throws the football, those balls are probably going to be going in the end zone. And that's going to be the difference in the game. I know what Raven fans are going to say, well, you don't have to worry about Tyreek Hill. That is true. But when you see DeMarcus Robinson, when you see Sammy Watkins, when you see Mecole Hardman, when you see Damian Williams, when you see LaShawn McCoy, when you see Travis Kelce, and when you see that other tight end, this is a loaded offensive team that basically Patrick Mahomes can use any weapon he wants, and he'll be able to manipulate his arm and his throws to get, the Chiefs in position to win this game. And that's why I had to go with the Chiefs, just because, again, I feel like with Lamar, we played the Dolphins, we played the Cardinals, we've handled our business mostly. We definitely handled our business against the Dolphins, against the Cardinals, not so much. And I feel like those long bombs that Kyler Murray was able to throw on, Patrick Mahomes will do those same things. Instead of getting, to the 20, they're going to be getting 6 points instead. And I just don't think Kyler Murray and his arm, Lamar Jackson with his arm and his talent will be able to measure up to Mahomes' ability to score, and we will lose this game. It'll be a fun game. It is definitely, to me, the game of the weekend for everybody out there watching. This is a big statement for the Chiefs, who can show that they're still one of the best teams in the AFC. And for the Ravens, is a statement to say if they are a true contender in the AFC chase for the Super Bowl, while everything's going on. So that's why I like Kansas City are minus 6.5, and Kansas City straight up. The next game, the Vikings over the Raiders. This is one where the Raiders I don't really have that much faith in them. Like, they were up 10-0 in the first half, in the first quarter, and then they gave up 28 unanswered points. Derek Carr threw 2 picks. See here. See. Let's see. Derek Carr went 23 of 38 for 198 yards, a TD, and 2 picks. He got sacked for the first couple times against the Chiefs. And I just look at the Vikings going, if the Chiefs pass rush can get to Derek Carr, the Vikings pass rush can definitely get to Derek Carr with the weapons they have. I also think, again, Kirk Cousins, it's a home game, playing a Raider defense, which looks absolutely awful. He has an offensive weapon, choice to really kind of dissect the Raider defense. And honestly, like with the Vikings, like I feel like they need to bounce back with this kind of win, just because of where the division's going, especially with the Lions being 1-0-1 and the Packers being 2-0. If they lose this game, that gives them just more ground for the NFC North to be harder to get. I think the game could be interesting because Oakland's kind of shown, they showed in that first quarter, they can have flashes or runs of being really good, and if the Oakland's offensive line can hold up, I think Kirk Cousins and Derek Carr, can be in both for heck for days. But I'm just going to take the Vikings here because I believe in their talent, I believe in their defense to get more pressure on Carr, and I think Dalvin Cook will be able to run through the Raider defense in a way that will, solidify the game for the Vikings to win. So that's why I like Minnesota here -8 and Minnesota straight up. The next game, the Patriots over the Jets. This is one where, look, the Patriots, they're the best team in the NFL. Honestly, from what you've seen out of the last 2 weeks, I'd give the New England Patriots, I'd give New England the Lombardi Trophy at week 1 after what I've seen the last 2 weeks. You get to keep this for 17 more weeks. If you can play 19 straight games, if they can go undefeated, they will not win, they will not get to keep the Lombardi Trophy. If they go 19-0, which seems very possible right now of how they've been playing, I just don't think this game is really even a contest, especially with C.J. Mosley, Quinnen Williams, Sam Darnold out with mono. Like, this Jets team is banged up. It's in the, it's in the air shop. It's in the air shop for repairs. The wings are sputtering off of it. Adam Gase is just staring angrily or bug-eyed, at how, how did Sam Darnold get mono? And also for the Pats, like, this is the place where the Jets, where Brady usually wins his games in the division at an alarming rate. Let me see here. Let's see. He is 82-21 all time in AFC East competition. So that's nearly 80%. That's about 80%. So, with the Jets team how they are, with the Pats how they're rolling, this should just be another rollover game for the Pats in this regard. They are literally I believe, the Clemson or Alabama of their schedule right now, where they're just rolling over opponents without really even giving a lot of consideration. So that's why I like New England here, -17.5, and New England straight up. It's pretty nuts to me, just for a quick little thing. It's pretty nuts that you have a 17.5 and a 21-point line, both how both teams have been playing and who their opponents are. You have to take confidence in the favorites to win by those wider margins in the NFL. So that's why I like New England here -17.5 and New England straight up. The next game, the Eagles over the Lions. I'm taking the Eagles here just because I just have faith that the Eagles, with everything that went on last night, Dallas Goedert going down, Jackson going down, Carson Wentz going into the tent for a little bit, Alshon Jeffrey getting hurt, and all those things considered, they still had a chance to win. They still had a chance to win, and if it wasn't for Zach Ertz positioning himself or Isaiah Oliver being able to make a game-winning tackle, they were, they could have won that game against Atlanta and got to 2-0. For Detroit, that was a pretty impressive and kind of shocking defensive win of how they were able to hold the Chargers to just 10 points. Though I could argue that definitely Travis Long had a rough day kicking. He missed 2 field goals. I believe he had an extra point off the upright. So it was a tough day. Also, Austin Eckler making a bad decision, trying to lunge forward to get to get in the end zone, but fumbling the ball, which was a costly turnover. But I just look at the Lions and say you got very fortunate with how the Chargers could not be productive. I don't think with the Eagles you're going to have that same case. I think the Eagles, I think they should be able to try to run the ball a bit more effectively. Jordan and Sanders and Clement, who fumbled the ball in the first play of the third quarter, it was just a rough all-around game for them. But I don't think the Detroit offense is nearly as talented as Atlanta's. And I don't think Detroit's defense is nearly as talented as Atlanta's either, especially with the pressure they have coming up the front. But I'm taking Detroit here +7 because of the injuries. I don't know if these guys are going to make it to come back. And honestly, if you don't have Deshaun, if you don't have Alshon, if you don't have Goddard, if you don't have some of the other weapons that went down, I don't think this will be a game where the Eagles can comfortably get the win and take and ride the 7-point spread. It's going to be a great game. It's going to be an interesting game because I feel like Detroit could surprise people. They definitely surprised the Chargers, and the Eagles are definitely hobbled up, and maybe the Lions can, sneak a win. Remember, Carson Wentz, his first career interception was against the Detroit Lions in their 24-23 loss his rookie year. But yeah, I'm taking the Eagles here. A little more talented. I believe those guys will be able to come back and play effectively and win, and I just don't think Detroit has enough defensively to hold the Eagles to 10 points. So that's why I like Philadelphia here straight up, but Detroit +7. The next game, Arizona over the Panthers. I'm taking Arizona here because I've seen enough out of Arizona to trust them in these situations to play better than Carolina. Cam Newton has now won 8. He's lost 8 straight games. Of the longest streak of his career. He hasn't done a touchdown in 4 straight games. The Bucs were able to show you how to stop Christian McCaffrey, who I believe only had 53 yards rushing, and about another reception for about 18 yards. Greg Olsen and DJ Moore were really the only offensive weapons on Thursday night to have an effective game against the Bucs defense. And I just look at Cam. He's not really throwing that well. He had a lot of wild high throws. He only went 24 of 50, I believe. Yeah, he was like 24 of 50, something like that. And he just didn't look that good. And when you try that, end around reverse crap, instead of letting Cam Newton run up the gut on a 4-from-1 QB sneak, I think they said that he converted 89% of those 3rd or 4th-and-1s. That's all you got to know for that. Also, it's kind of an interesting story with Cam and the Panthers, where Kyler Murray is only, through his first 2 games, has only done something Cam, did in throw 300-plus yards in their first 2 games. And I kind of feel like this is a great poetic, ending for the Panthers' dominance by going back to the place where Cam Newton debuted in a game against the Heisman Trophy rookie winner who's on the same track. And I just feel like, again, the Cardinals could not run the ball. Okay, and I think that'll be something significant because at least in the Bucs they got 100 yards rushing on the ground. I think that'll be kind of the advantage that Carolina will be able to do. But I feel like with how Kyler Murray's been able to throw the football and his legs and his playmaking, I think he'll be able to make a few more plays in this game through the passing offense to get the Cardinals in position to win this game. If Carolina would have won or if Arizona would have looked worse, I probably would have changed my pick to Carolina. But after what I've seen in the last 2 weeks, I got to go with Arizona because I've been more impressed with how the Cardinals have stuck in their grit, coming from an 18-6 deficit in the 4th quarter to tie their week 1, and then to play the Ravens as tough as they did, with Kyler throwing balls to Keyshawn Johnson, Charles Clay. I forget the other tight end they have, but it was just a fundamentally impressive game by Kyler, who showed a lot of arm strength and a lot of playmaking through those long-range throws. So that's my thoughts on that one. It's going to be a great game. But I'm going to take the Cardinals here. I just trust what Kyler's been doing versus what I've seen out of Cam the first 2 weeks of the year. So that's why I get Arizona here +2.5 and Arizona straight up. The next game, the Bucs over the Giants. This is one where I just saw Tampa win. The Giants don't look good at all. Pat Shurmur just said a little bit ago that he doesn't know who's going to be starting week 3. I have a theory about that because Eli Manning just yesterday suffered his 116th loss. That's significant because he also has 116 wins. He is basically on the Jeff Fisher cusp of the reason why they fired him, because they did not want Eli Manning to have to, for everything he's done, to have a losing record on his resume. That's why I believe Pat Shurmur is telling the media they don't know who's starting week 3. I believe it'll be Daniel Jones after what, kind of like that statement, just kind of like where Eli's career is and Eli, where he's playing. But I'll take Tampa here because that was one of the more impressive games James has had. It ended a 12-game road losing streak, the longest active one in the NFL. I thought Vernon Hargreaves had his career game. He had 12 tackles, I believe, which was a career high and team high for the team. And I'll just trust that if Daniel Jones really plays, they're not going to be it'll be as effective. That Giant offensive line has had some rough moments, especially with Shaquille Barrett with his 3-sack game coming off Thursday night. It'll be interesting to see how he does there. But I'm taking The Giants plus 6.5 because I don't know who the starting quarterback is. If it's Daniel Jones, I feel like they'll be able to cover within that 6 points. And also, if you look at how the score of the Panthers-Bucks game, the Bucks only won by 6 points. Also, I do want to say quickly on that Carolina-Arizona game, congratulations to Matt Slipe. What a great start for him. But we got a lucky bounce on that 51-yarder that doinked off the right upright. So that's why I like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are straight up, but I'll take the New York Giants plus 6.5. The Niners over the Steelers. This is the first time the Niners have won back-to-back road games 30 years since 1989. This is their first 2-0 start, I believe, since like the 1990s as well. I think it was like 99 they started 2-0. Jimmy Garoppolo looked fantastic. He had 3 TDs and a pick. Matt Breida and Raheem Mostert were able to make huge runs. George Kittle looked great. And that defense, that's a loaded defensive front and a back end that will give any team trouble with how they've been playing. And with Pittsburgh not, having Big Ben, they're going to go to Mason Rudolph, who went 12 of 18, 192 yards, 2 TDs and a pick. Juju had 84 yards receiving. But besides that, nobody could really run the ball. Snow, I think, had like 25 yards on 1 carry. But if you look at how the Niners have been playing, and this is the first non-Big Ben game since Week 7 of 2016, it's just going to be a rough day for the Steelers in this sense. Do I think it could be competitive? Sure, because you really don't know how Mason Rudolph can do. And maybe the team will feel motivated to play with Mason Rudolph and try to uplift him, just try to get Big Ben out of there, or just to try to just show that, Big Ben's not as Big Ben is not as crucial as an asset as the Steelers fans may want to believe. It's going to be a great game. It's going to be an interesting game because I'm going to say Pittsburgh's not going to do, how they're going to do. I don't think they're going to do well, and I think with Jimmy Garoppolo rolling through there with his play, I think the Niners get their first 3-0 start since probably 99. Let me see here. Let's see. The Niners are going for their first. Let's see. Nope. Dang, it was earlier than that. Oh, let me just stop looking at try to find the last 3-0 start. But yeah, they're trying to go for their first 3-0 start in a very long time. So that's why I like San Francisco here against the spread, and San Francisco straight up. The next game, the Seahawks over the Saints. This is very much the same way. With Drew Brees going down, I don't have very much confidence in the Saints going into Seattle. Seattle's had a notorious home field advantage for years. If you look at how Russell does at home, he's 45-12 in his career at home. He has 103 touchdowns and 27 interceptions. It's not pretty at home in these kind of games. This is going to be Teddy Bridgewater's first start since Week 17 of last year, but his first meaningful start since the playoff game, ironically, against Seattle. So basically, in that instance, basically this is kind of a very odd way for Teddy to get back with playing the same exact team that he had his last meaningful game with in the wild card round 2016 with a different team. But I just really, again, like Seattle, like they were able to shut down James Conner pretty well. They're gonna have some issues because you do have Michael Thomas, you do have some offensive talent, but with Teddy Bridgewater, that offensive line looked banged up. They really couldn't protect him. Heading Clowney and LJ Collier and KJ Wright and Bobby Wagner. I think they're going to do an effective job of stopping or getting pressure on Bridgewater to not be as effective, and I just don't think he'll be able to get the speed in that kind of environment in the second loudest stadium in the NFL to be able to call plays effectively and win this game for them. Could it be interesting? Sure, because definitely after week 1, Seattle definitely showed that they have flaws, and they definitely have been hanging around games, especially with big men going down and going the Bengals, that they shouldn't be. But just with how Seattle's been playing, Seattle's consistency, I just told you Russell Wilson's home record, 45-12. It's just really hard with Drew Brees not there to not go with this team in this big spot, or in this spot. I think it'll be interesting, and I'm rooting for Teddy to play well because how his career ended with that ACL, MCL complete tear. The fact that he left Minnesota, went to New Orleans, he was there for a year, then he signed another 1-year deal. I might have thought he might have went to Miami, unless I would take him over Fitzpatrick or Rosen at this point in Miami. But I just feel like, again, this is a guy that has not been in this kind of environment in a long time. This is a defense that's been effective and consistent, and you're playing Russell Wilson and against this defense that he's had a tremendous time with over the last couple of years. The last time they were at home, I remember there was that big Monday night game in the Super Bowl run, and they just absolutely destroyed the Saints from top to bottom. And I don't think Russell Wilson's lost to Drew Brees in Seattle, or to the Saints in Seattle. So that's why I like Seattle here against the spread on a pick'em and straight up. The next game, the Rams over the Browns. Look, the Browns may be able to beat the tar out of the Jets tonight, but the Browns may be able to beat the tar out of the Jets tonight. But this is the Rams. This is the best team in the NFC. Jared Goff has looked okay, but he really hasn't needed to. The defense has looked fantastic. Aaron Donald was wrecking havoc, especially with that Browns offensive line of how weak that's been. Remember that this is the team that has 18 penalties coming off of last week. Baker Mayfield was getting rocked around by Cameron Wake, Jarrell Casey, Harold Landry, and everybody on that Titan defensive line. So I feel like the Rams can definitely bring that same type of pressure. And with the Rams corners, I'll take Akeem and Marcus with Odell and Jarvis, the tight end. They got safeties with Weddle and Josh Johnson, who, I'll feel good with against Njoku and Demetrius Harris, the other tight end. And I feel like, again, the Rams, they've been able to play effective football, and I feel like they've already... the Rams? They already went to Carolina and got an East Coast win when they didn't need to. I feel like they can do the same thing going to Cleveland, where the last time the Browns were home, they lost 43-13. I feel like the Rams can... Even if the Browns play better, I feel like the Rams will be able to pull this game out with their talent, and they'll get Baker Mayfield. They'll make him feel more dangerous like he did week 1, and rough him up to get this victory with their defensive line. So that's like the LA Rams are -3, and the LA Rams straight up. And lastly, the Bears over Washington. This is one where, again, I got to ride the defense here. Washington, you know what? Congratulations to Adrian Peterson, passing Jim Brown for 5th all-time in touchdowns. Job well done to him there. But I can't go with I can't go with Washington because I saw Devin Smith burn Josh Norman for a 50-yard touchdown. The New York Jets second-round bust from Ohio State. Ezekiel Elliott had 111 yards on the ground. Dak looked effective. Do I think Trubisky's going to put up lines that Carson Wentz and Dak Prescott did? Absolutely not. But do I think Case Keenum and Adrian Peterson and that Redskin offensive line will be able to hold up against that Bears defense, which has averaged a grand total of 12 points per game in their first 2 games? No, I do not. And I feel like Trubisky, in the same kind of situation, I feel like he can put up between 15 to 17 points, which could be the difference in the game, and they'll be able to eke out another win. I'm going to take Washington +4 here just because I've seen Trubisky in this offense. Mitch Trubisky's regressed from where he was at his second year. You could say maybe some of that's talent, or you could also say Matt Nagy's been figured out with how his offense is. And I just feel like, the Redskins have shown they can put up a fight, and if the Broncos can hold a close game, and the Packers can also hold a close game, I think the Redskins can kind of do the similar thing, especially with them being at home on a Monday night stage in this kind of game. Also, Case Keenum, he knows some of these defenders from, last year, or, just from a couple years ago. He knows, some of the Bears' talent defensively, what they have. He knows how Trubisky plays, and I feel like, they'll be able to kind of use that to help. So that's why I like Washington here +4, but Chicago straight up. And those are my picks for this week. Those are my thoughts and comments. Like comment, rate, subscribe. Please check out the NFL YouTube Prognosticators. I put a bunch of them in my description, and I'll put the other guys and gals on there. But please check out on Facebook the NFL YouTube Prognosticators. It's a great group of guys and gals that make weekly predictions, just like I do on the NFL. Everybody does great. Everybody talks about football, and I just would love to also see all their channels grow just like mine. So please check them out. And that's it. So good luck to all players, coaches, fantasy players, and I know the bye weeks are starting up very soon. Players, coaches, teams, fantasy players, and fellow prognosticators here, there, all the way here, there, all the way out there, all of the ships at sea, everywhere else. And that's it. So until next week for week 4, this is Matt the NFL Fanatic signing off. Until next time. One more quick thing. Shout out to Andrew Warren. Please check his channel out. I'll put his channel. Thank you for the shout out for your video. I watched it. Great job with your picks. And congrats to the Pats for basically carving their way to the AFC. But that's it. So until next week, this is Matt the NFL Fanatic signing off. Until next time for my week 4 picks. So long.